Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, Yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am Japheth, and I'm your host today. And I am here with...
The Pumpkin King.
Whoa, Pumpkin King.
Sandy Claus!
Oh boy, and we are discussing two wonderful holidays combining into one movie, The Nightmare Before Christmas. And we're going to kind of talk about the phenomenon of it. We're going to do like a brief kind of like a review of the movie. We did last year. We did Hocus Pocus and like...
I know, we're already talking Halloween now. It's crazy.
It's there. It's coming. Mm-hmm. You know, the pumpkin spice, everything is there.
It is.
September 1st.
Yep. Mother Yodeler, she brought out some pumpkin spice ice cream, and I was like, nope, I'm going to go with Rocky Road.
Do you remember the time when we got pumpkin spice sparkling cider?
No.
And it tasted like a melted candle.
And then we realized it was a melted candle, which is
carbonated melted candle. Okay.
The greatest moment was like we needed to finish it, and so Chafee chugged it. Japheth
I
chugged
did?
it.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I repressed those memories.
Oh, this was when we were on vacation.
Oh goodness, I don't remember that. Oh
yeah.
I'm getting old. All right, so we're talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas. The movie came out in 1993, October 29th, 2 days before Halloween, which you look back and you're like, you know, I mean, you could have had a little bit more time in October, but maybe they were thinking long term since it is that in-between of Halloween and Christmas. The story, you know, this is a spoiler, but I'm pretty sure if you are a Disney fan, you have watched this film, you know, but... brief synopsis: Jack Skellington, Pumpkin King, king of Halloween Town, wants more. After a successful Halloween experience, gets lost, finds Christmas Town, and he goes, "This is great, but I can make it better." And, you know, hijacks Christmas, and he realizes he had screwed up, and gives Christmas back to Santa Claus. That's probably the briefest synopsis.
The most basic synopsis you could give it.
Without getting too deep into like
Oogie Boogie.
Oogie Boogie and like the bad guys and stuff like that. Sally's story is not even included there. So yeah, basic story. I don't want to insult our listeners by butchering up that story too much. Because to be honest, I finally watched the ending last year for the first time. I made it all the way up to Oogie Boogie so many times, and I never watched the rest of it. And I remember watching and going, they're shooting at Jack with, like, cannons, and I was like, this is crazy! And, like, I always see the scene where, like, the kids get the gifts, and I never saw anything after that.
Right.
And so, it was interesting, and I don't know if I liked it at first, but watching it again this year for this, I kind of liked it more. So this movie has grown on me more, and maybe I didn't like it so much because it was so cliche for people to like. Oh, I love this movie, it's amazing. Like, it was so popular to like this dark movie.
I get that, because there are a lot of other fandoms that I refuse to get into for a long period of time because of such hype of things that I didn't want to be associated
like
with.
The wizard with a little scar in his
like
head.
Like that wizard with the scar in his head. Yeah, he was the devil for me. For
you'd go around just to like
yes.
antagonize people that way.
People hated the fact that I would say that, even though it was just because I just wanted to say something so they'd get off my back about it.
Just antagonize them.
Oh yeah.
It's not the devil. And I'm like, I don't know.
Witchcraft, wizardry, it's a little Satan-y.
It's a little borderline right there. You know someone's got a wizard in the hand, a wand, they're like, no!
Harry's a good wizard. He's not evil.
Evictus Peterosis! Okay, so back to Jack Skellington. So, okay, your guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts on the movie, Jackie? And then give it a rating.
Yep. So, music, great. Love the music in the movie. Storyline is okay.
It's a short film. It
Yeah,
really
it
is short.
It's a short film. Some of the things I liked about it is I like the contrast between Halloween and Christmas. It's such like a big contrast, which makes it
A fun idea
enjoyable.
to make into a movie. Like, who would have thought to combine Christmas and Halloween? Who else but Tim Burton, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that goes alongside as to, like, why this movie worked was Tim Burton, who wrote this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so the contrast is entertaining mentally, I would say, which could be why it's so successful. And then, but also part of it, it's claymation. I'm not a big fan of claymation.
So you don't like the stop motion?
It's just not my style. It's a little creepy for me. And then, the Halloween part, the Halloween town, Oogie Boogie, it's creepy.
It's just
grosses
too dark.
me out. It's a little just dark. I'm more like Christmas, and I like, the happiness. I'm not a big Halloween person. I like the happy Halloween, like cute pumpkins
Well,
and
Mickey's
smiles.
not so scary.
Yes, Mickey's not so scary. Love that. Like, I'm not a big Halloween person. I'm not even like a big like Haunted Mansion person. So.
And then there was only 2 yodelers.
Somebody just got booted out of their own podcast.
Here's your bobsled. Bye-bye.
Like, it's good and all, but like, it's just that type of style. It's just not for me. I like the colors. I like the happiness. So, yeah.
Okay. How many
Oh.
Mickey bars would you give it?
Out of
Out of 5.
5,
You can eat a half-eaten churro in there.
like
you know,
3.5.
3.5. And so you're willing to, like, would you watch it each year? Or
I
what's
would-
your frequency of watching this film?
Once every 4 or 5 years.
Okay. 4 or 5 years. And do you like the Haunted Mansion overlay?
That I do like,
Okay.
because it lightens it up.
All right. Thank you. Art, Peter, Santa Claus.
Sandy Claus. For me, I have like weird mixed feelings about this movie.
I think our whole family does. So that's why I just want to dive into it a little bit further after we get...
Because, like, honestly, like, I grew attached to the music first. The music, the best. Like, I listen
it's
to
the
that
best.
year round. You know, this is Halloween or Kidnap the Santa Claus, la 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 la. Like, it's Danny Elfman, right?
Yep.
Danny Elfman did a fantastic job. I learned a lot about, like literally, like, they came in to Danny Elfman and they're like, all right, this is the story. What are some of your song
Yeah, he
ideas?
showed them pictures of it.
And he's all like, oh, this. And they literally, like, wrote these songs just, like, in one sitting. Like, all the songs in the movie in one sitting. Like, it's, like, crazy, like, how amazing these
the
songs are.
genius and the skill of being able to produce the music that just resonates through
Right.
generations right now with this movie.
Like, I'm always constantly quoting, what's this? What's this? There's garbage on the floor. What's this? There's underwear on the wall. What's this? Yes, life with children. What is this?
Oh, we weren't talking about Christmas. We were
No,
talking about...
no, we're talking about my house today. No. So, like, I don't know, just the music, that was the thing that, like, really got me into it. Like, honestly, I didn't even remember watching the movie prior to listening to music. The music got me going, like, I gotta watch this movie. And then I watched the movie, and I'm all like, meh.
I like the music video in my head better than...
Right. The music video was a lot more entertaining to me. And it's not to say, like, I don't like stop and go animation. I have great respect for the work
The
that
craft.
went. Like, I think they said this took, like, 3 years to film.
It did 3 years. Little fun facts. They had 8 cameras going, and they would film 8 scenes for each second.
Yeah.
So
like,
if you go back and go back every second, you may have 8 different faces of Jack Skellington during a scene.
That's crazy.
that's crazy. And so yeah, it took them that long. And you're like, it's a short film. And you're like, Yeah,
There's a reason
there's
why
a
it was a
reason
short
why.
film, because it's quite elaborate. And like, and it's not to say like I just don't think the story itself doesn't captivate me as much. Yeah, I think the story from myself, I know some people love this story and some say that's the reason why it has this occult following, because people like that style of story. But I do like the art style. I like the way things look. Like, I think it's very creative. It's definitely very Tim Burton in its style. So, like, if you've seen Beetlejuice and all Batman, like, it screams all of that. So, like, yeah, it's one of those movies that, like, I don't really care for story-wise, but, like, every other aspect of it, I love.
Yeah.
I think it's very well done. Props to all of the hard work that went and made that movie. Like, it deserves to be as popular as it is. I just don't care for the story itself. I wish there would have been a better, for me, I think they call the story simple, and that's why it's so successful. I wish it maybe might have been a little bit more interconnected.
Yeah, you got like a Boogie, Oogie Boogie. You don't know his story.
Well, you don't know his story, and like people like to portray Oogie Boogie as the villain, but he's not really the villain.
He doesn't like make or break the story. I mean, yeah,
Right.
Yeah. You got the three. What are they called?
Lock, Shock, and Barrel.
Yeah, Lock, Shock, and Barrel. They feed Santa Claus to him, and you get this like dark and like it's a spooky scene. It kind of reminds me of the Shadow Man and Princess and the Frog.
Right.
That kind of.
It's like the villain of it. I would say it's more Jack and Sully, or Jack.
Jack
and
and
Sully. Whoa.
We got Monsters Inc. in here.
He
Okay.
stole Boo. He destroyed that poor woman in Bray,
No, Jack is probably, I would say, it's more the villain, and Sally is more of the hero trying to stop Jack.
She grounds him,
Yeah.
or she tries to warn him, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's Jack who realizes it's his own fault and he fixes his own mess.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of like what I would rate it, I would probably only give it a 2, because I'm more likely just to listen to the music than I will to watch the movie. If it's on, I may pay attention to it. I might not.
But to finish it all the way through, that's always been my problem, is like you get to a certain point. And it's just
right.
like-
And the thing is, like,
Once they stop the
in the
music.
soundtrack, there's like the last monologue in the soundtrack is not in the movie. Like, there's this whole monologue, because like you have like the narrator, he's talking, and like they have this beautiful piece at the end of the soundtrack. So if you have an opportunity, listen to the last song of the soundtrack for the movie, where they're talking about how he came back and visited Jack and his kids,
Yeah.
and if you could do it all again, would you? And he says, wouldn't you? Like, oh, it's just that part gives me chills. Like, I think
Yeah, it's one of like the hidden facts is that Jack has a kid, and that's a scene that was cut out.
And so, like, I love the soundtrack itself. I think the soundtrack is a 10 out of a 10, but the movie is a 2.
And the thing is, they wrote the music before they wrote the script,
Yeah.
and so, which is kind of interesting how they were able to kind of piece together with what they were doing. But again, Tim Burton was feeding Danny Elfman just like,
Right.
well, these are the images, this is what we're going to do, and it's like, write me a story, and they kind of just filled in the dialogue in between there. Okay, so you said 2.5 or 2?
Say 2.
2.
2 out of 5.
Solid 2.
Solid 2.
Okay, so we're pretty much not gonna meet Rocketeer status level
No,
Mickey
we're
Bars.
not. Nope.
Just putting that out there, Rocketeer. So for me, like I said, I had never finished it, and I remember seeing it in the VHS tapes, the promos with the Beauty and the Beast, like, hey, we've got this movie coming out, and I remember going to my friends Kyle and Cliff, and they bought the movie, and I was like, "This is dark. I don't want to watch this." I was like, "I'm gonna go play with like Ninja Turtles." You know, that was my mindset with this movie, and I don't remember watching it, but I just remember seeing just this fandom for it, and I just never. It was so like kitschy, the popularity, where it just like deterred me from like watching it. And like it would be on like ABC Family on like the 31 days of Halloween, and it would just I would like, oh, I'll watch a little bit, and the music was good because we listened to it in the car with Dad, and now it's just like and I never liked the Halloween overlay at Disneyland because I was like, I like the Haunted Mansion, I don't like this because I don't know the movie or I don't really care for the movie. I want to see the Haunted Mansion, and so that was always.
Well, that was
there was
one
kind
thing
of a friction for me.
That was one thing I was always okay with because again, when I was younger, I just like you, I wasn't as familiar with the story. I was more familiar with the music. I was more okay with the holiday overlay because I didn't feel like I needed to know the movie because it wasn't a telling of the movie.
No.
It was just like, here's the fun music that I love, and you're gonna leave the attraction singing. As you're la 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 la, like you're gonna leave the attraction singing that song, and it's just a fun. It was just a fun adventure, something a little different to spice up that attraction, especially to fill in some gaps in that attraction that I felt were a little dry.
And then there was one Matterhorn there.
Well, maybe we kicked you out because you don't fit our.
No, this is my mountain. Welcome to Candy Mountain.
I still love the Haunted Mansion. I'm just saying there are parts of the Haunted Mansion
Blasphemy
that are a little empty.
No,
That's
I get it. It's not a perfect attraction, but it's pretty close. No,
it's I'm not going to deny that. Like it is a great attraction.
It's my nap ride.
Ooh, get my blood boiling, girl. All right. I give this movie a 3. Artistically, it's beautiful. Music-wise, it's beautiful. Story-wise, the last go-around, I will probably watch this again, maybe in a year or two. So, yeah. You know, someone recommends it, I haven't seen it, I'd be like, I would watch it. So you just have
It's worth at least one watch.
Seeing those teenagers with the Jack Skeleton stuff, you know the story behind it. So we'll go into some quick fun facts about this. Because I love doing that. Because you like stumble, you're doing all this research, and you're like, I didn't know that.
Right.
Do they know this? And for me, it's almost like, can we stump Peter with these weird facts?
Right.
Because Peter is all-knowing. He knows so much.
Well, when it comes to the movies, I'm a little less knowing.
I know, but that's where I'm like, this is my chance
This
to go.
is your chance.
I'm trying to impress my brother where I know something. Do you know it? So, Jack's suit was originally black. Didn't have the pinstripes. They needed more contrast. They thought the striped lines would create a good delineation with such a dark background with Halloween Town.
You take a look at the background, most of it is black. And they, you see it and it's just like, it just looks like Jack has a floating head in the darkness.
It's kind of like the family photo we have of you, Jackie, with the brown background. You're wearing the brown dress.
Thank you, Mother Yoder.
That's for making fun of that's for denying the beauty of the Haunted Mansion. All right, so next thing is an Imagineer named Christopher Merritt. He actually came up with a ride concept for Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's a dark ride, and it goes through the whole movie experience. And he did it in a kind of fun map. And I didn't know about this, and I looked it up. And it's a beautiful ride map. For those that don't know, I'm into mapping, and this ride map is beautiful. This was not official Disney. This was kind of like my portfolio to Disney,
right?
Christopher Merritt, and it's awesome. And you see it, and you're like, oh, where would you put it? And for me, I'd be like, oh, get rid of Winnie the Pooh and put it right there. Make it dark. My thought. But Did you know that there was kind of a concept for
No.
a ride?
I had heard about it. I wasn't sure if it was an official
It's not
Disney
official,
thing,
no.
and so that because I had heard about it, I didn't really.
There's only like a paragraph line.
Correct. I didn't think there was much to it. I just heard that like somebody created, some Imagineer had something to do with the movie,
And now he works for Disney.
Yep.
So that's kind of fun just to look that up. The movie was originally a poem by Tim Burton. He created it while he was working at Disney. It was probably a dark time for him, and he was just
This thing 81, I think.
yeah.
81, and then he actually tried to get this movie made earlier, and Disney's all like, no, this is way too weird.
We just did Black Cauldron, and Dork does not work for us.
this is too weird for us. And then it wasn't until like Tim Burton left and did Beetlejuice and Batman and Edward Scissorhands and
Yeah.
like people Disney's all like, okay, maybe we can revisit this.
We could do the dark stuff later. As you said, Jack becomes a father. And
I
it
didn't know
seemed
that.
Yeah, and
It's in the soundtrack.
In the soundtrack.
Only in the
And
soundtrack.
And it just didn't make the cut, and so that's how you know. Disney wanted Jack to have eyes, so Disney company were really pushing to have eyes in Jack because they're just one of those keys. Like animation, you put eyes on them, and they were that was one of those things that they were very like, no, we're not doing this. We're not putting eyes on them. And so they were having problems like with what they know with something new.
Disney having creative differences with the production team? What? That never happened.
So what you do is you print out a picture of Jack Skeleton and you put googly eyes on him and you get an idea of like Disney's like, this is what we want to do, and you're like, Tim Burton's like, no.
No.
Don't touch
Look,
Jack.
googly eyes. So in the scene where the vampires are playing hockey, you'll see them with a pumpkin, I think, that they're playing with.
Yes.
Originally, it was supposed to be Tim Burton's head.
Head.
Oh.
And that was one of the things the director says he regrets putting in there, or taking it out. Jack makes a cameo in Beetlejuice. Do you know where?
It's like, I saw this. It's like on top of like this little carousel thing. Like you see this little
Yes.
Jack head on top of.
Exactly. So right at the end when Gina Davis and I forget the other guy's name, they were like deteriorating because they were doing a seance to rid them of the house. And the daughter calls Beetlejuice, and he comes out and does the elaborate like show. And as he's raising from the table, he's got that carousel on his head, and on the very top of the carousel, you'll see Jack Skeleton's head with a little bat. And so it's very brief,
Very
but you could
small.
go on YouTube, and there's like a 1 minute scene, and you'll be like, yep, there it is, I see it. And so Jack makes little cameos
And a
Easter
lot of
eggs.
Tim Burton projects, as well as a lot of Tim Burton projects making their way Easter eggs into the Nightmare Before Christmas movie itself.
Yes. So it's kind of it's cool to see that. They said Oogie Boogie was the toughest character, and as you watch him, you're like, it's a bag moving
Yes.
around and have to change it and the lighting.
That's tough.
And when you think about it, you're like, wow, this is amazing. And
For
it
a
makes you
stop
And,
and
appreciate
go
when
it.
they,
animation.
and thinking about it, when Oogie Boogie's like bag came
He's
off
unraveled.
and unraveled, and he saw the bugs and just moving all those bugs. Ooh,
All right, guys, we're doing the bug scene. You're like,
Well, the thing is, they talked about how like
What?
they would film an entire scene, which would take like months just to
Yeah.
film one scene. And if one thing was wrong, they had to refilm the entire scene over again because cameras are at different spots, and so it's not going to match up if you just fix that one little
Yep.
thing. So you have to start completely over.
So I totally get it. Danny Elfman, he voices Jack's singing voice.
Yeah.
And he's also the shortest one of the three kids, the Lock, Stock, and Barrel.
Lock, shock, and barrel.
Lock,
yeah.
Shock, and Barrel. He's the one with the little one with the mask. So he does that voice there. What else do I got? No, that's it. That's all I've got for fun facts. Do we want to go into the whether it's Christmas and Halloween, or
Sure,
do we want to
let's
go
do
into
it.
the
Let's do
culture?
it.
Okay, Jackie, Christmas or Halloween argument?
I'm gonna say Halloween.
Halloween. Any reason why? What tips it in the favor of a Halloween film?
It is. I would say it's taken place in Halloween Town. 85% of the time, and there's just a lot more creepiness to it compared to Christmas. Because with Christmas, they just have Santa Claus, some wreaths, some ornaments.
You got a brief moment in Christmas Town.
Yeah, that's about it.
It's not an Easter film, even though the Easter Bunny was stolen for a moment.
Easter Bunny was in it.
Yep.
All right, so you're saying it's Halloween. What do you say it is?
If you were to ask me like a month ago, before I had done any sort of thoughts on this, I would have agreed with Jackie here.
Well, you're a Christmas king.
I'm saying Christmas.
Ooh, please tell me your thoughts on it.
Because the name of the movie is Nightmare Before Christmas.
So it's in the title.
So it takes place, we've already established, it's after Halloween, okay?
Yes.
So it's in the title, this is Christmas. Then this is about Jack wanting to create his own Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, is it dark and creepy and doesn't really fit the normal thematics of Christmas? Yes, it doesn't fit what we normally think about when we think of like Christmas movies. But that's Tim Burton for you.
This is true.
He likes to go outside the norm, and so a lot of this is about his self-discovery, finding more about him. Jack discovering more about himself as he learns more about Christmas and realizes what his role is. So, you're right, it takes place mostly in Halloween Town, but it's Halloween Town trying to figure out what Christmas is. So it's about that discovery about what makes Christmas Christmas and what makes Halloween Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
The differences there.
I'm kind of indifferent.
It goes either way.
It goes either
really
way,
does.
and I'll go briefly when an article brings up good points. Why it's a Christmas movie. It says it's centered around Christmas, like Peter said. Jack's Christmas spirit. Jack recreating Christmas, like you said. What's this? Is a Christmas song. Santa's gift, Snow to Halloween Town. That kind of gives that Christmas feel. For arguments why it's Halloween, Jack is the Pumpkin King.
Yeah.
Majority of the film is in Halloween Town, as Jackie said. Gifts are Halloween kind of coup, by Jack. And then you have Oogie Boogie, and he screams Halloween if there ever was something.
Yes.
There's also the song, "This is Halloween."
Yeah.
This is Halloween.
So you got that Halloween song right there. So you've got this deep conflict, and it's always kind of fun to talk about this movie. People are like, is it a Halloween movie? It's a Christmas movie? And there's nobody right. But according to the director, and some people say this is it. This is the defining thing. What's his name? Henry Selick. He says it's a Halloween movie, but that's the director. But as a viewer, it's up to you. It's like in what is it? The I can't remember the movie anymore, so we're just going to delete this part out of what's going on. So we've kind of established, like, it can be Christmas and Halloween, and that's what we're going to go now into. Why is this such a cultural phenomenon? Why has a movie that made $90 million in 1993 have such a merchandise and cultural identity for teens and now parents with this movie, and has a park influence to get an overlay on a classic film?
It has walk around characters.
Yes.
It has,
Yes, a meet and greet, and it had a gift shop before the Haunted Mansion had a gift shop.
Heck,
really,
now it has its own Halloween party at Disneyland.
Yeah.
The Oogie Boogie Bash.
So let's kind of analyze, why is this really a cultural phenomenon after we've discussed like why this movie is what it is, or like what makes it good. Why have people really drawn towards this movie and identify it as, and it's identified now as an occult film? And I guess the next question after we're just discussing why it's popular is there an occult film that has such a moving that has such a movement
that came out
afterward? It's bigger now, and it keeps growing as we're getting closer to 3 decades after it came out. So What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
why is this a cultural phenomenon, and why, like, do you see it all over? Like, I can't go to like a high school event without seeing a Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, not that I go to high school events very often, but it's like you can't go to the mall without seeing Nightmare Before Christmas
True.
or the Disney Park without seeing some sort of merchandise there from it.
So we did ask our Instagram and Facebook on social media
Ooh, what did they say?
of like kind of like yay or nay for Nightmare Before Christmas. Obviously, the popular vote was yay for Nightmare Before Christmas. It was like 75%. There were some nays, and then we asked favorite character. You know, between Oogie Boogie, Jack, Sally, and Zero. And Zero was
Zero's the best.
Zero's the best.
It's a
So cute.
fun ghost.
And so I thought that was interesting that Zero was the best. But I guess it's like a dog, so.
It's the safest answer because there's such conflict with each character.
Mhm.
Right.
But as far as why it's so popular, I think there was every time period has like a rebellion stage. And I think in like the 90s, 80s, there was a darker period where you got into like punk and like goth and, really deep dive in like emotional and creepiness, I would say,
Mhm.
to where people really enjoyed Nightmare Before Christmas because it expressed that, and Tim Burton kind of was like a good expression of that rebellion in that time frame.
Okay.
And then also, like I mentioned before, it's an interesting contrast between Halloween and Christmas. They're polar opposites, but when you put it together, it kind of works. And it's interesting. So when you go to the parks and everything's like princess and happy and stuff, but then you go like Haunted Mansion where it's
You go to
like,
New Orleans Square and it's like, it's a different part of the park.
it's a different part of
Yes.
the park, and so it's darker, and so those people who are like may not be like happy all the time, which is totally fine, and likes to explore like the creepiness and like and many times when they were creating the Haunted Mansion, people like to be scared, and so it kind of has that feel of like scariness, but not too scary, to where it can be easily introduced to young kids.
Okay. I think those are all really like, I mean, you bring up the point, like, there's just like this subgenre, like, in that 80s time period where we're getting like Gremlins and like, where there is kind of a dark side to what's out there. And like Disney even experimented with Black Cauldron and I mean, not saying there was a success there, but I mean, obviously they felt there was
It's a newer trend.
Yeah.
I would say.
where not everything has to be all princess and lollipops and
Yes.
so I could definitely see where in the marketplace where these ideas could be appealing to, like, well, I'm not part of this world. I realize that there's kind of a darker side, and Halloween's my favorite holiday, not Christmas. You know, I like dressing up and pretending, and not presents and warm, cuddly, like just the warmth of it, drinking hot cocoa and peppermint. And so I could see how the need for it was there. All right, Peter, what is your thought with...
So it's a variety of things. So like you nailed some of the points. I feel like this is a great introductory point for kids to enter scary movies.
Yes.
It's, because it's not like, yeah, it's a creepy movie, but like kids can handle this sort of creepiness. Like it's not over the top because it does balance itself out with some of the Christmas tones. So there's that aspect of it. This also comes from an aspect of, this is like prime time when I feel like Halloween was at its peak.
Yeah.
And so like there was...
Before commercialization of it?
Like, I don't know. Like even now I just feel like Halloween's kind of died out.
You thinking it's died out?
I feel it
I
has.
don't
Like in
know.
terms of like trick-or-treating. Like
Yes.
trick-or-treating I feel has like died out. That's not really a thing, at least where I live. Like I bought big candy bars.
You're that guy.
I'm the guy. I bought big candy bars, and wasn't able to give them all out. Like that's how many people came to my house, and so like it's kind of sad because I loved Halloween. I loved going trick or treating. It was cool to dress up and get free candy. It was a great fun day, great fun evening.
Oh, it was the longest day to get to the point of trick or treating. Whether
Right.
you were in school that day or if you were. It
And
was
it's
a
like
weekend.
5 o'clock. You're like, can I go? Can you go? And you're like, no, not
It's
till
not
like
dark
6
yet.
or dark. And yeah.
Yeah, and you feel kind of weird knocking on people's doors at like 5:30. And
Right.
it's like,
They're
it's not
eating
dark.
dinner.
Well, they're just getting home. They just
Yeah.
pull into
Yeah.
their driveway and they're like trick or treating. Like give me a second. I gotta
Yeah.
open some bags up.
So you believe that it was prime time with Halloween and the tradition of it?
Yeah, there's
in
a
American
lot of
culture.
that. Like it's a lot of everything, honestly.
course.
So like there's that aspect of it. There's the fact that it's a holiday movie. So it's a Halloween movie. It could be considered a Halloween movie. It can be considered a Christmas movie. So like, and what do people normally do in the holidays? They start watching a lot of these different holiday movies, and because well, it fits somewhere in that in-between zone, it kind of gets picked up on both ends, both Halloween and Christmas. So, like, you'll see it on
Christmas in July.
Christmas in
Yes.
July, or you'll see it in December, you'll see it in October,
Will be
you'll see it...
rerun on ABC Family movies.
It's like Forrest Gump. It's always on.
Like, there's a reason why Disney themes the Haunted Mansion to Nightmare Before Christmas from basically... I mean, this year's an exception, but normally it's August through January that it's Nightmare Before Christmas. That's almost half the year that it's themed the Nightmare Before Christmas. So like
This is at Disneyland.
at Disneyland and Tokyo.
Oh, they do it in Tokyo?
They do it in Tokyo as well. I don't know how long they do it there, but I know they have the
They do
Nightmare
celebrate
overlay there.
Halloween. I believe it's on the 29th of October.
Gotcha. So like there's that aspect, like, and also I think the reason why it's endured so long is nostalgia. Like I think it has this nostalgia.
You're on my train.
It's the nostalgia train. Like honestly, like that's why like I don't really have a big attachment to it because I didn't really get into it when I was younger, and so my kids aren't really that exposed to it. But kids are into this sort of genre anyway. I mean, like my wife, she loves the movie Coraline, which was directed by the same guy.
Director, yeah.
Same director.
Oh, that's creepy. I don't like
That's
that.
even creepier.
That's
But like
way
again,
creepy.
kids love that sort of level of creepy because it's not like over the top of like, you know, Freddy Krueger or something like that. It's lighthearted creepiness that
Kind of a little uncomfortable.
yes, but ends with a happy message, you know, instead of like leaving going like I'm gonna have nightmares for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Sort of situation.
Autoplay YouTube to sleep.
So like there is a market out there, and Hot Topic shows that there is. You know, like the sales for Nightmare Before Christmas clearly shows that this is something that people
want.
are into the macabre.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to necessarily say like the goths are the reason,
No.
but they help contribute to the growth of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the 90s, the early 90s, you get that push of, like, you had the grunge, and then you start getting some darker music that comes out of that time period, and I don't want to steal anything away
No,
from you.
I'm done.
You're done? Okay.
Yes.
You bring up great points. Both of you thus far have brought up some good points. Yeah, I think that goth movement got it going. That
Yes.
teenage identity of like, oh yeah, and I remember seeing kids when I was in middle school in the late 90s. They would have the Jack Skellington like gloves and little stuff before the merchandise even really got there. And then
And heck, that's something you can get at a younger age. You can get your parents to buy
Yep.
because
It's
it's a
cartoon.
Disney movie.
yeah, it's safe.
Yep.
You don't have to have skulls and stuff like that.
It's a
And-
Disney character,
yeah.
not a scary
We
skull.
like Jack and Sally. It's a love story.
Right.
And so yeah, and then you mentioned Hot Topic. Yeah, Hot Topic was it
They
showed a
took it
market.
and ran with
Yeah,
it.
they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it was, you want to be edgy. You don't want to shop at like your Macy's or your J.C. Penney's or Dillard's or, they don't sell that stuff there. You had to go to Hot Topic or Spencer's to kind of get that like obscure counterculture kind of clothing. And I could definitely see that, as you're a teenager, you have that kind of like resistance to your parents and that counterculture. And I was like thinking, why do people attach to the characters so much? And so you have Sally, and like I never thought much about Sally, and you have this character that's shut in and is, controlled by her creator, and she tries to rebel by giving him Nightshade to knock him out, and then like she escapes and explores the world. And is that not kind of allegorical to the teenager, besides knocking your parents out with poison? Is that you have your creator going, I created you, I love you, you're going to do what I tell you to do, you help me. Like parents have always been there controlling, and then they become teenagers and they're trying to become their own thing. They're trying to escape. And I see Sally's character being very identifiable to a teenager in the sense that I want to explore, I want to see the world, I want to get away from my creator, my provider in that way, because she always goes back because he is still that provider. You could go more into the psychology of abusive relationships. That's a whole nother. I watched a 30-minute video of this guy going into it, and it's like, man, you could have cut this down to 3 minutes instead of showing your lame jokes. But besides that, and then she goes out there and she falls in love with Jack, this guy who doesn't even see her. And like every teenager goes through that experience of falling in love with someone that doesn't even know you exist.
Yep.
And Sally tries to help Jack, and Jack's not mean. He's just like, what's your perspective with this? But he doesn't see her the same light as Sally is in love with him and is always faithful to him, trying to like, hey Jack, this idea of Christmas and it's not a good idea. I don't think you've thought this through. But she's still in love with him, with his like passion to continue and pursue his dreams. And then once it all comes down, he realizes, oh, Sally always had my back, and so you have Santa Claus in that moment, recognize the teenager Sally going like, you're the only one with your most sense, because as we become adults, we kind of lose the, get so focused on being an adult, we kind of lose picture of like, maybe we shouldn't mix Halloween with Christmas. Maybe they should be separate. Right. There's a reason why this is how it is. And
there's a reason why Thanksgiving is in between them. To keep them separated.
Yeah. So we just said, we need that space. So I kind of like, that's how, when I saw that perspective for me, and that may be a horrible character interpretation of like me projecting Sally as a teenager, but I just saw it in a different light, because I was like, why is Sally and Jack's relationship, that's always romanticized in the Halloween. You always have them together when they do the meet and greets.
Yep.
Jack looks like some crazy alien from a movie.
Like a light bulb head.
Yeah. That was one they've never been able to get fixed with the characters. But, I could see that being appealing to teens in that early phase, and then just kind of snowballed with merchandise and the appeal of, like you said, it's Disney. It's not so edgy. I don't have to get a Slayer T-shirt to show I'm rebelling with my mom.
You can buy this at a Disney park. Why is that so scary?
No, it's cute, and there's it resonates with the teenage group so much, because they are watching it and they are buying the merchandise after the movie came out, and they were born 10, 15 years, and you still see it to this day. And so I feel the teenagers really push that movement.
I think
so.
For what it is.
I agree.
And parents like it because they appreciate the craftsmanship of the art, and the music is, as we say, it's great.
Good.
10 out of 10 music.
There we go. I mean, like Father Yodeler says, if you're not whistling the music as you're leaving, it's not a good movie. And this one, you ride the ride with the overlay, and you can't help but go like that. La, la. Yeah. So, okay. Any other last thoughts about why this movie is got such an occult, or is there a movie that has an occult status that's even greater than this? It doesn't necessarily have to be Disney, but
If you had given me that question beforehand, I
you
probably
would
would
have
have
thought
given
about
me
it.
an
Okay,
answer.
and maybe that's for our listeners. You know,
Yeah.
as we wrap up, is there a movie that has an occult status where it resonates generational now?
I mean, Star Wars would be very close to
But
that.
it's not a cult.
But it wasn't. It was
huge.
popular when it
Yeah.
first
Popular.
came out. This wasn't.
You know, it was appreciated
Rocketeer?
for... No, not even close.
No,
I will
I
even
know.
concede there. The Rocketeer is
No,
not
I
a
know.
cult.
I know.
You know, there's TV shows that I think that have that kind of fandom.
Yeah, I agree. There were definitely some TV shows. Wasn't
Some
like
sci-fi shows that definitely have that kind of as it's gone on later. It's
Firefly.
that's huge. That's the one that was
that
popping in my
is
head. I couldn't
big.
think of it, but
Firefly. That's the popular show that like nobody watched, but those that did loved it to death.
and it's grown so much where people have picked it up later on.
They even made a movie
Yeah.
after this like half season series got
Yes.
canceled.
That's true.
Yeah, so like for our viewers and listeners, let us know if there's an occult film that's as good, and what are your thoughts on why this movie is so popular, you know, with, you know, why it's grown. Because like we said, we think it's like an average film, but the audience and the reviewers are 95% and 91%. You know, it's just, it's loved, and it's always baffled me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Maybe we are the only ones. We are the only ones on this mountain right here.
We're not scary movie people.
No, we're not.
We didn't grow up in that scary movie phase. I mean, like the scariest. I mean, which granted it was scary was Jurassic Park.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna say the same thing.
Jurassic
Oh,
Park was probably
so
about
scary.
was
The dinosaur when it
but
came
that,
out.
That was basically
opening the door handle. Oh.
And
So-
the with the nose, yeah.
that was about as scary as we got in our family, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really anything else
Yeah.
that compared.
Yeah, I couldn't watch The Ring. I was scared to put any tapes in the VCR after The Ring. You
What's
know?
a VCR?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was as a tape.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So, once again, the call is out to you. Share why you think it's so popular, why it's so great, and why it will continue to be, you know, in our homes going forward with our future generation. With that being said, please follow us on social medias, and you know, you got your Instagram, your Facebook. You can leave a creepy message on Anchor. Just make sure it's like Tim Burton creepy. Not like I need restraining order creepy. No one likes that movie. What else do we got?
YouTube?
YouTube. That hasn't been updated in a while. And for that, I am sorry. But you could listen to us on any podcast streaming device. And with that being said, Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember,
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.